Welcome to Learning Life Skills Together. This is our weekly community Zoom meeting where our guests help us to go deeper into the 4 life skills and open up a huge array of chances to practice them. Hello, everyone. This is Learning Life Skills Together weekly Zoom meeting number 85. And today we're going to talk about a mental health double whammy that has to do with how we go into or don't go into nature and how our kids go into or don't go into nature. So what I'd like to do for our usual start with a little practice is to look at nature. And so it may be possible that you're sitting somewhere with a window that looks out on a tree or the sky or a nice landscape or a not so nice landscape, but nevertheless one that's natural. So you could sort of find a way to face towards that. And here's the thing. If that's not where you are, if you're like me inside a concrete building with a window that doesn't go anywhere, you could close your eyes and you could imagine a natural scene. So there may be places that you go that you know really well. There may be places where you sit. I can remember right now very detailed version of my backyard when I look at it from my back porch. So if you're looking at the world out through your window or you're actually outdoors listening to this, looking at what's there. If that's not available to you, imagining, making that picture in your mind, or even running a video in your mind of looking back and forth across that scene that's familiar to you and that's beautiful, an example of the beauty of nature. So just allowing yourself to rest your mind on that. Resting your mind maybe on the way the tree is built, that it branches out and branches out and branches out. Maybe there are leaves on it, and maybe there aren't. It's still got that larger to smaller pattern quality happening with it. Maybe you're looking up at the sky and you see the pattern of the clouds. Maybe you're looking at the landscape of your backyard or of some vista out a 5th-story window. Seeing the pattern, seeing how it is, what nature brings us in that way. Maybe letting your attention, your mind rest on that. Just resting your mind. And so if you're actually looking, you could continue to look. And if your eyes are closed and you're imagining, maybe you carry that imagining onward. Maybe it's helping you to settle in. So here's what I want to bring up, this idea of a double whammy. And so I was reading a publication from the National Recreation and Park Association, and some of the numbers really shocked me that only 6% of our kids in the US play on their own in any given week. So we are very organized and we are very, very much indoors and in front of screens. So in fact, the next number again is kind of um, upsetting, disturbing for me at least, that our kids spend 7 hours roughly in front of screens per day. So this is the mental health double whammy that we're talking about, is that kids don't go out and they spend time with these screens. And so the screens, the entertainment, the learning, the whatever else it is very exciting and sometimes reaches overload or reaches overload peaks and goes away across that 7 hours worth of use. And so it actually overstimulates the part of the brain that mostly has to do with knowledge and controlling ourselves and those kinds of things. It would be the executive function areas of the brain, right? The ones that we really want to work with and train when the kids are in school. So the more they're overstimulated, the less they're actually able to use them and the less they get out of their education. And so this is an issue that we've thought a lot about in learning life skills and our recommendations of going outside and, under the banner of going for a walk, um, is really coming from how do we turn this around? And so because we're doing sort of a little series of what is the science behind this? I mean, the science behind going for a walk, going out in nature is pretty deep when you really stack it all up. And so the going for a walk part, the getting ourselves vertical and moving in this kind of rhythmical way that we do when we walk stimulates our brain in a different way and helps us to have a clearer kind of focus, a clearer mind, and actually to be more creative. So this in itself is valuable for our kids. And then, of course, there's the exercise that we get when we go walking. And so we know, and we've done podcasts on this, that it's not, oh, if you don't do 10,000 steps, it isn't worth it. You're not really exercising. Walking 5 minutes out and 5 minutes back from your house is actually valuable and actually has a significant impact on your health and your physical resilience. So there's a lot to be gained just there. And then here's the deal. If we go out in nature, by which I don't mean the wild forest, by which I mean a pocket park somewhere, your backyard with a couple of trees, this is all that it takes to connect us to nature, even to look up at the sky and watch what the clouds are doing, connects us in this way. So that overall connection comes under the heading of the biophilia hypothesis. So bio meaning life and philia meaning love, right? So Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love, right? So it's these same kinds of Greek words coming at us. But what it means is that we are just another animal in nature. We're a hmm, pretty cool one, we like to think, and it would seem that way. But nevertheless, we are connected and we need that connection. And when we feel it, it helps our physical and mental health to have just that connection with nature. So that's another way of looking at just getting out of the house, taking a 5-minute walk, looking at a tree, looking at a couple of birds that are hopping around. We're really working on our physical and mental health. And then we add in this other piece, which is called attention restoration theory. And so the idea here is that when we see nature, nature is built and made up in such a way that our brain, particularly that prefrontal cortex, that executive function part, finds it restful. It's not demanding. So there's the idea that as we look at that tree, as we look at the clouds, as we see those sort of gentle patterns that we recognize, but they're not demanding of us the way, an equation is, the way mathematics is, or the way even a printed page or screen is, that we're helping to rest that part of our brain. So it's really the nature of nature to be built in this way, to give us a form of patterning that lets us rest. So when we go out, when we do that, when we take the kids to do that, can we look deeply into nature? Can we spend a moment with that tree? Can we spend a moment with the sky? Can we even watch those birds hopping? So this is a form of fascination, but it's not a fascination that takes it out of us, that gets us stimulated the way our screens do. Is a more gentle form of fascination that draws us in because it's where we belong, because we feel that connection, because we feel home. So, how can we build this into our lives and our kids' lives? How can we do better than having kids, 6% of our kids actually being outdoors and not doing something that is set up for them and regimented? How can they let that part of their brain just rest for a while? So there is a practice called the sit spot. And what's nice about this is that it's repetitive. We can do it over and over and over again. We can go outside, find a place to sit down and observe nature. We can go to that same place every day. Every morning I wake up, I have my cup of coffee on my back porch, unless it's like a snowstorm, I do that and I look out at the little tiny landscape that I have there, and I look at what is mostly shrubbery, but it has that form. It gives me that rest, that restful pattern that lets me recharge myself and be ready for the day. So, where's a place for you? Where is a place for your child that you might go to all the time? And the other question is, when you go to places, instead of doing all the things that are set up, is there a place where you can go and sit down and just look at nature and rest your poor, overstimulated prefrontal cortex so that you can be renewed? So, this is good for us. It's good, particularly for the kids. It's good to do it on a regular basis, like as often as possible. Can we get more than 6% of our kids out into the out of doors, calming themselves, looking at nature? We get calm because we're connected to it. We get calm because of the way it's built and the subtle kinds of fascination it has for us. And we get calmed because maybe we're with somebody else. Maybe we're with somebody who helps us to calm down. And, this is something that we also talk about all the time in learning life skills together. How we calm each other, you know, as a caregiver, as a parent, when we're with that child, we're calming ourselves, giving them a chance to calm themselves. And when they get calm, it reflects back to us, and we can go even deeper, get even more calm. So maybe just going outside, finding a sit spot, and spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just resting our eyes, resting our ears. The sounds of nature also bring us that sense of rest because of a sense of safety. I want to mention here that the idea, if we go outside and we sit somewhere and there's a tree and there's a bird singing in that tree, that means that everything is okay. All is right with the world, right? When the birds are singing, because they don't sing when they're scared. That's basically it, right? And we know that. We know that. So maybe this week, get outside sometimes, day after day, find that sit spot, sit and see what you discover about nature, discover about your own mind, your own brain, and about your child. Because that walk back from the sit spot, maybe you talk about how it was. So maybe you'll try it. I hope you will.